Stalking here.
As a matter of fact, it was.
Sam Hain. It means the Lord of the Dead. The end of summer.
10 years ago, he tried to kill Laurie Strode. Now he wants her daughter. Michael, go home! Go home!
This thing that lived inside of him came from a source too deadly for you to imagine it.
He's dead. Michael Myers is dead.
I knew you'd come for me sooner or later. What took you so long?
These are the eyes of a psycho man.
Michael Myers is fucking dead! D-E-A-D!
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape so I can kill him? Happy Halloween, Michael.
All right, let's talk about Halloween 4, which came out in 1988, a decade after the original. I got my Gutter Garb shirt on right here with Bandage Myers on it. Pretty cool look. I think they should have stayed with this look throughout because honestly, the mask in this movie is terrible, and this would have been much better to see throughout. This movie stars Ellie Cornell, Danielle Harris, Beau star, and once again, Donald Pleasence. This movie was directed by Dwight H. Little and written by Alan B. McElroy, who would go on to do the Wrong Turn movie and the remake as well. And this movie is a fan favorite. There's a lot of people who love it. Some people hate it, but I think it's mostly loved. This is one of my favorite sequels in the franchise. It's the one I saw this one on TV the most growing up, so I have a lot of nostalgia for it. And what is the plot synopsis? The plot synopsis goes as follows. 10 years after his original massacre, the invalid Michael Myers awakens on Halloween and returns to Haddonfield to kill his niece, Jamie Lloyd. So with that being said, let's get into it, shall we? Let's talk about Halloween 4. This will be a spoiler discussion. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. You have been warned. Alright, so first thing to talk about here is that this movie was rushed. The production, the writing, there was a writer's strike coming up, so this had to be written very quickly and made quickly. And even though that was the case, this movie is still pretty good for being a rushed movie. But, it's also the cause of some problems in the movie. Things that could have been shot had it not been so rushed. They were going to reshoot the opening. The ending of part 2 was going to be the opening of this movie. They were going to reshoot it and have Dr. Loomis and Myers get blown out of the hospital room. We were going to see that they weren't on fire. They got burnt, but they weren't fully in flames and dead like we see at the end of part 2. So we were going to get an explanation as to how they were still alive. But instead, the movie just opens up, 10 years later, and we're just like, okay, we saw both of them blow up in that room. There's no way they're alive. So yeah, the rush production is probably the reason why that's the case here. But yeah, let's talk about the opening. The opening is one of my favorites in the franchise. It's very atmospheric. It just puts you in the mood for Halloween. It has all this autumn stuff there, the farmland, and it's just great. I mean, some people hate it because it broke the streak, having 1, 2, and even Halloween 3 having pumpkin openings. This one went away from that and just did this instead, but I like what they did here. It's much better than the pumpkin open in Halloween 5, if you ask me.
First time here, huh?
Hope it's the last time.
You never get used to the faces. Never.
Jesus.
Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place.
I like the security guard at this insane asylum. I think it's Ridgemont, right? And that's the same place that they were talking about in Halloween 1 when Loomis was in the car with the nurse. We gotta take him to Ridgemont. Well, now he's finally there, right? If it's the same place, I think it is. But this security guard, he's got the best dialogue. Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place. And he has to give all the exposition in case you're somebody watching this movie before part 1 and 2. Why would you do that? So he's got to explain the story. Telling you what happened in 1 and 2 leading up to this. But he's just got some of the best lines in this movie. Him and Bucky. Don't try that Halloween shit with me. You don't even think about leaving. I'm calling the cops. And Michael Myers, his initial in this movie is M. His initial should be A because his middle name is Audrey, so they fucked up there. And one question I have is, why would they keep him alive at all? This guy is a psychopathic murderer, butchered like 15 people in the first 2 movies combined, right? Like over 15, especially in part 2, like 5 in the first one, like 10 people at least in part 2. Let's keep him alive for 10 years. Who's paying for that? Just kill him, you know? Like, why are they keeping him alive? And so the big question here also is, why didn't he ever feel the need to just get up and go kill Lori, who's been living a normal life for the last 10 years until she just died recently? He finds out that he has a niece, and he's like, oh, I gotta go kill my niece then. And why write that? Like, this was the perfect opportunity for this movie to get away from the family thing. You know, 2 did the family thing, and, you know, you can love it or hate it for it, but this was a new start. The writer didn't have to do that. He could have been like, okay, well, you know, we can just have Lori killed, and now he's going to go after new people. But the writer was like, no, we got to make it family shit once again. So that's unfortunate. But I still love having Danielle Harris in the movie, and I like her character. I think she's a great child actress and still a good actor today. So I like the character, but just why the family thing? It didn't need to be family. That was so not necessary at all. And if he never found out about the niece, if that guy in the ambulance just would have kept his mouth shut, would he just stay in a coma for the rest of his life? I don't know, like, the fact that he never felt the need to break out before that and go finish the job and kill Lori is just mind-baffling. I don't understand why he didn't want to go kill her, but just the niece thing was enough to set him off again.
No, I still don't understand.
The first kill in this movie is one of the best. It's unique, a thumb through the forehead, and supposedly this was all added in later. Just like in Halloween 2, they went back and shot extra gore footage, and I think John Carl Buechler did some of the effects in this movie. So we're introduced to the characters of Jamie Lloyd and Rachel Carruthers, and I really like them, like their chemistry. I like the sister, foster sister bond. It's kind of like, Andy Barclay and Kyle in Child's Play 2. And I like them as characters. And so the characters are great in this movie, but what I don't like about the scene when we're introduced to them is the fact that it's all just a big dream fake out, and it doesn't make sense that she's seeing an ambulance out there and then seeing Myers in the mask that he hasn't even stolen yet, and she wouldn't even know what the mask looks like, period, because she's never seen Myers. I mean, did Lori take a picture? How does she know what Myers looks like in his mask? Like, what mask he wore? And what's with the ambulance there? It's not like he actually drove the ambulance there. Like, it's all a dream. She wakes up, right? So, but, because if it wasn't a dream, it would make even less sense. Like, okay, so he drove the ambulance, knows where she lives, and then took the ambulance from that location and then drove it to that bridge that we see later on that's like miles away from Haddonfield and crashed it there and then walked back. It's like, there's no explanation for why this is happening. Like, how is she, like, she's got a psychic connection already. Like, it's mainly in part 5, the whole psychic thing, but there's a little bit of that in here. But it doesn't make any sense, and I have to blame the quick writing for that. It doesn't make any sense. She should not be seeing that ambulance out there, and she shouldn't be seeing him in a mask when he hasn't even stolen one yet, And let's talk about that mask. It's terrible. I mean, I never even noticed it growing up, the fact that all these movies had different masks from movie to movie. I guess I just had so much time in between each viewing of them that I never noticed it as a kid. It wasn't until much later on that I was like, oh yeah, these masks are all different from each other in each movie. But this one's just fucking terrible. It's one of the worst. Not as bad as like H2O and maybe even Halloween 5. Is, I think, maybe a little worse than this one. But it's too white and it looks nothing like the damn poster. The poster is deceitful and they lie to us. So this movie takes place 10 years after the first one, and Jamie is like, 9 years old? I don't think they ever say. Maybe they say it once and I missed it. But she looks like, I think the actress Danielle Harris in real life was about 9 or 10. maybe even close to 11 when she made this. So Laurie got busy pretty quickly after the events of part 1. That's all I'm saying. Like, she had this major traumatic experience and then quickly, I guess, banged Jimmy. Is Jimmy the dad? And then they had a baby together. Like, we never see the father in this movie. So she got busy pretty quick.
All right. I'm on the telephone to the police right now. Don't you even think about leaving.
This is just a movie thing. It's in all kinds of movies, but I'm going to point it out here because that's what I do. It's an in-depth review. This movie does it also, like all the other ones, where they have a picture of someone from a different movie, and it's impossible, this picture. It's like a still image, or it's like an on-set, behind-the-scenes photo that was taken of Jamie Lee Curtis. She's like on that stoop holding the pumpkin, waiting for Annie to pick her up. Who took that picture? I mean, did Myers drive by and like take a snapshot and then give it to her later on? I don't know. But then even later on, she has a picture of her uncle, the boogeyman, as a child, as a 6-year-old kid. How did Laurie get into possession of that picture? And why does she have it? Why does Jamie have it? Ugh, and Myers doesn't even like that she has it. When he picks it up, he throws it back down. Like, ugh, I don't want to see me. Like I said in the opening of the movie, throughout the movie, it's very atmospheric. It looks very Halloween. There's lots of like trick-or-treaters. And this movie, just the way it's lit, the colors, and just the cinematography, this movie looks very Halloween. I love that Loomis is in this movie. I don't think it would work as well without him. You know, it doesn't make sense how he's still alive because we never get to see how exactly he survived the explosion. But one thing you can't help but notice is how his scar keeps changing throughout the movie, and it's because they fired the effects guy. Like, at first it looks like a big old bubble there, and then later on it looks more like burn makeup. They fired the guy, and then they like rehired him because they felt bad, I guess, you know. And then, but yeah, so it's just noticeable. They kept using different takes from different shoots, like with different makeup. So it's like his face looks like this in one moment, and then it looks worse in the other, in the same scene. Like, it's just ridiculous.
6 bodies, Sheriff. That's what I've seen between here and Richmond. A filling station in flames. I tell you, Michael Myers is here in this town. He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way.
Loomis is a boss in this movie. He is just like taking charge. He knows what's up. Just like in part 2, he sees that ambulance and he just walks into the water, doesn't give a shit. He's like, I already know what's in there, but I'm going to go check it for myself anyways. And I love that there's like all this blood on the side. Like, damn, what did Myers do? He would have had to like drag their bodies out of the ambulance and then kill them on the outside for all that blood to be out there. So where did the bodies go? They don't see any bodies on the outside of the ambulance, but clearly somebody died outside the ambulance because there's blood splattered all over the outside. The doctor brings up a good point that since it's been like over 10 years that he's been in a coma, his muscles would be useless, he says. But Myers is pure evil, so that's where he gets his power to keep on walking. And he kills this mechanic guy because he's got to get the mechanic outfit. Once again, he can't get a new outfit. So he kills the mechanic, but then later on when we see his body just fall on cue, like bodies do in horror movies, we see that there's no stab wounds, nothing on his chest, anywhere really, so he had to get stabbed in the mouth. Plus, when Myers is wearing that outfit throughout the movie, you can see that there's no blood on it, no hole from where he would have stabbed him, so he had to get stabbed in the mouth to explain why there's no hole in his outfit and blood on it. One of my favorite shots in this movie is the one in the diner when Loomis encounters Myers for the first time in 10 years. He just looks at him across the building, and then we get that cool like zoom in shot. It's one of my favorite shots. I love that. But just like in part 1, when he's in the backyard with the sheets, in this scene he disappears in the blink of an eye. He's shooting at him, and then boom, he's gone. It's not like Loomis looked away at some point. He just disappears in the blink of an eye, and there's not even bullet holes on the cabinets where he was shooting. So where did those bullets go? Another nod to the original is Jamie Lloyd getting picked on by the school bullies. You had Tommy Doyle getting picked on by those assholes. The boogeyman's gonna get you. He's gonna get you. boogeyman. And in this one, it's even worse. They dial it up. They're making these kids extra evil. They're like, your mom's dead. She's a mummy. And then one of those kids later on is trick-or-treating. She bumps into him and then wants to go trick-or-treat with him because he compliments her outfit. Like, oh, cool outfit, Jamie. You remember me from earlier when I said your mom's dead? You want to go trick-or-treating with me? And she's like, yeah, okay. Because you compliment my outfit. Like, fuck that kid. Myers should have killed these children.
He's not gonna do it. Chicken.
Don't forget, man, she's Sheriff Meeker's daughter.
Her daddy don't scare me.
Fuck off, Wade.
So there's a character in this movie whose name is Lindsay, and you think at first, oh, is this Lindsay from the first movie? No. What a missed opportunity that was. That should have been Lindsay Wallace, and the fact that we don't see this character again after this scene makes no sense. Where does she go? How come she's not more important? She is the best friend of our lead, like, final girl, along with Jamie Lloyd. Why doesn't she come back into the movie at all? Beats me. In fact, that character, Lindsay, should have been in Halloween 5 as the Tina character instead. That would have been much better, because I fucking can't stand Tina. But that should have been Lindsay Wallace, and we should have had another nod to the original Halloween with the pickup truck that he's driving, because he knows how to drive stick now, right? I'm assuming it's a stick. We should have seen the truck he was driving following them, like in part 1, when Annie and Laurie are driving around. We should have been able to see through the back windshield his red pickup truck following them around, and that's how he knows where they live. That's something that I feel is missing from here. There's more stalking. This one has less stalking than the first two. There's one moment of like POV when he's outside the house looking at Rachel, who's on the couch, like on the phone. That's really the only moment of POV in the entire movie. I like the Halloween costume shopping scene. Reminds me of good days of my childhood. I always got excited to go costume shopping, and she picks out the clown outfit because that picture she has, she wants to look like her uncle, I guess. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Why would she want to dress up like her crazy uncle that she's heard nothing but terrible things about? But yeah, she chooses that outfit. Meanwhile, we got Wade, fuck off Wade, and Grady or Brady or whatever, and Rachel on the other side of the building talking, and she's basically telling him, I'm not going to be able to date you tonight, last second, and then Jamie breaks something, and then she leaves that mess for him to clean up. So it's like, I can't date you tonight, date's canceled, you're not going to get laid tonight, not by me, and you're gonna clean up this mess too. Like, bye-bye. What a bitch. It's kind of a bitchy thing she did to, cancel a date, turn him down, and then be like, nah, you clean up this mess that my little foster sister created, like, you get to clean up the broken glass. And no one saw Myers in that scene. Like, he's right there. It's not like a hallucination. He was really there. And I don't like that shot of him putting the mask on. It just looks weird. Anybody else? Like, it should have just cut to him with it already on. Him, stretching it the way he does, it looks uglier than it already does. Bad, horrible mask.
You're hunting it, ain't you? Yeah, you're hunting it all right. Just like me.
What are you hunting, Mr. Sam?
Apocalypse, end of the world, Armageddon. It's always got a face and a name.
The Jack Sayer scene is a scene that I kind of like, but I don't think it really goes with the tone of this movie. Like, that's a scene that I could see in part 5, but in here it just feels off. Like, this guy is over the top. He's just this drunk priest who's all about doomsday. The end times are coming. What are you hunting? And, I seen it back there in your eye. You're hunting something, ain't you? Like, whatever he says. Like, he's drinking and driving, and Loomis has, no problem with that. And this is the second and last time you'll see Loomis smile in this franchise. So in this movie, we get, a love triangle. We got, some drama, and Brady is cheating on Rachel, even though they weren't really together, really. She was like, I think he was about to make a commitment. So they're not really committed. They're not really boyfriend, girlfriend yet, really. So, the fact that he's, cheating on her, I'm supposed to hate him now because of that. Like, I don't blame him at all. She canceled the date last second and then made him clean up the broken mirror. So I totally get why he's cheating on her. Not even really cheating, because they're not really together. You know, like, and did you see Kelly Meeker? Anyone would be with her. She is stunning. Oh my gosh.
Brady, are you coming in or what?
Oh, I'm coming, all right. In my pants. Myers, he kills yet another dog. Sunday. Poor Sunday. So Myers is just killing dogs in every single one of these movies. I like that Myers seems to be extra smart in this movie. He's got like a strategy going on. Like, he takes out the power when he kills Bucky. I love that character. He just throws him against the electrical grid or whatever. He's like electrocuting. There's like a weird jump cut in there. But yeah, like, then he goes and takes out the whole fucking police station like he's the Terminator. And he's just taking them all out. There's like a severed limb in there. You see like a guy with his arm chopped off. Like, he was fucking them up. That's something that I would like to see in like deleted scenes. Like, I wonder if they even shot that. Probably not, because it probably would have came off as ridiculous. It kind of bugs me how easy it was for Jamie Lloyd and Rachel to get separated. It just felt like a writing convenience. It had to happen, right? How do we do it? Well, we're going to have her argue with Brady. But it's like, she ended that conversation within 10 seconds. She could have caught right back up with Jamie. She would have been right at the next door, knocking, trick or treat. Like, there was not enough time there to make it make sense, you know? And also, there's a curfew. So everyone's like trying to get their kids back home to safety. I think they know there's a killer on the loose, right? I mean, maybe, I forget all the details. But anyways, like, who would just let this little kid be by themselves? Like, any parent would be like, all right, where's your parents, Jamie? You don't know where they are? You're alone? Okay, well, I'll take you home. You know, like, somebody would have taken her home, not just be like, oh, fuck you. You're not my kid. I'm just going to let you walk around the streets by yourself after curfew with a maniac on the loose. That's just absurd to me. Another thing that I think is absurd in this movie, and especially part 5, is the Myers mask prank. Like, everyone in town somehow knows about what mask Myers was wearing that night. Like, no one ever caught footage or took a picture of Myers in that mask. So I don't think anyone outside of, like, Loomis and Nurse Chambers, like, a very small amount of people would know what mask he was wearing before his body was burnt. The mask is gone. So, like, everyone in town knows what mask he was wearing 10 years ago, so they're all wearing the mask. Like, maybe they should make that mask illegal, you know, especially on Halloween night. But yeah, I just think the whole prank is a little absurd. And then all of a sudden, when they're driving away, Myers was right there in the road the whole time. Did he teleport there? Like, they're driving off, he's not there. Like, 5 seconds later, as they're driving down the road, it's like, oh, he was right there behind them the whole time. No, he was not.
Shit, Earl. It's Ted Hollister.
You dumb son of a bitch. You said you saw Myers.
So then we get this big old lynch mob, and I like the idea of this lynch mob. It makes sense. This would happen, and it's gonna happen again, I think, in Halloween Kills. That's the whole premise. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis or Laurie Strode is leading a lynch mob to get Michael Myers. So that's gonna be the whole plot of the next movie, is basically a nod to this in this movie. And I like the scene where they shoot in the bushes. It's like Predator, where they're just blind firing a bunch, and then they go and check it out, and they shot like nothing. But in this movie, they kill a person. So one of the rare times in this franchise where somebody's killed by someone who's not Michael Myers. And like, shit, Earl, it's Ted Hollister. But then we find out that somebody in this group had a kid, a son, that was killed in the first 2 movies. I wonder who it was. Was it Bob? Was it Jimmy, if he did die? Was it good old Bud from Halloween 2? Like, who was his son? Was it Ben Tramer? Because he was killed by that idiotic cop played by Dick Warlock, not Michael Myers. The biggest sin this movie commits is not showing Kelly Meeker's beautiful boobage. She has a huge rack, and she was going to show that, and then it just cuts away. We are at Halloween 4. This is a sequel in a horror slasher franchise. This is when there's more boobs usually, but now, after 3 movies of having nudity, the 4th one has 0. And I think it was the producers who cut it out. Somebody, I heard that they shot it. It's out there, supposedly. And we need to find it. Shout Factory, get on it. We need that tit footage back in this movie. Fuck what the producers want. let's get that boobage back into our beloved sequel.
Ooh, I think I'm in heaven.
I think I'm in hell. Ugh. I like that we get to see the mask like coming out of the shadows, just like in part 1. It's like all the way in the background. It's very subtle. It's a lot more further away, so it's kind of hard to see. But thanks to Blu-ray, you can definitely see it. And we get this off-camera kill of the cop, and he's like all twisted up. And I heard that it was a slight nod to Deliverance, supposedly. I've never seen that movie, but I'll tell you what the next kill is a nod to: Pumpkinhead. We get a Pumpkinhead kill when Myers gets the shotgun and shoves it right through Kelly Meeker because he doesn't believe in using guns the way other people use guns. So not only is Brady a cheater, but he's also terrible at counting. He clearly shot 2 shells with his double-barrel shotgun, and then when he goes to fire a third time at Myers, he's like, oh shit, it's empty. It's like, well, no, did you not count? Come on. And then when he's getting killed, he just gets his head crushed, but he like spits blood out at one moment. It just feels so random. Like, what the hell is he doing? He's like, I spit on your feet, Myers. Take that. I heard that was like a mistake. They yelled cut, but the footage kept rolling, and then he spit the fake blood out. You know, and they just decided to keep that in there for some reason. So they go in the attic, and then to get access to the roof, they're on the roof, and Myers goes into the attic and just draws a knife out of some random drawer. Like, they just keep kitchen knives, chef's knives up in the attic. What for? Why is that knife in the attic? That is very convenient for Myers here. And so they're on the roof, and this is a nice scene. Like, I like, you know, the tension here. It's a cool set piece, and it would have been even better had they had the time and production that they wanted. They were going to have fire in this scene. They were going to have a big old... The house is going to catch on fire somehow. I don't know who would have caused it. Maybe Kelly Meeker making tea. I don't know. Something would have happened, and then there would have been a big old fire. That would have added to the scene if there was a giant fire ablaze in the background as they were hopping off of the roof. And Myers gets off the roof pretty damn quickly. Like, Lori, or, you know, Jamie Lloyd, she hits the ground, and then, you know, she's talking to Rachel, come alive, talking like a kid. And then, like, not even 5 seconds later, there's Myers. Like, did he jump down too, like them, or did he take the long way down? He would have been, like, fully sprinting, like, I gotta get there quick. I want B-roll footage of that, you know, just Myers sprinting down the stairs, like, I gotta get there quick.
No.
Now, the biggest mistake this movie made, the mistake where you're just shaking your head going, what were they thinking? What happened? Was the production, like, really that quick? They didn't have time to fucking get the right mask on this guy's head? We get a blonde-haired, like, pinkish face mask on Myers in the school scene. Like, and he must have teleported too, because he got there pretty goddamn quick. When they go in there, there's no way, like... He seems to be teleporting a little bit in this movie, or he's just very quiet in like how he walks. He's not making any noises, and Loomis is surviving a lot of damage in this movie. He's indestructible too. He gets thrown out the window. It seems like they're on the 2nd story, so he took quite a dive, and he's still alive in part 5. But yeah, that mask. What were they thinking? What happened? I heard that it was just like they lost the mask that day, or like it was the first day of shooting. Like, there's all kinds of excuses out there, but I don't know. Like, oh, where's the mask? It's not here. Well, fuck it. Let's just get this one, throw it on him real quick. We'll just use it in one shot. Like, no excuse. Like, seriously. And I think he's even wearing that mask still when Rachel comes in and sprays him in the face with the fire extinguisher. Let's talk about Beau Starr real quick. The character Sheriff Meeker. I like his character. I like him as a replacement for Sheriff Brackett. It would have been nice to have Sheriff Brackett back, but, you know, he's retired. He's in Florida, and, like, the miles he said, I forget what the number was, but he said, like, he's, like, 3,000 plus miles. Like, Florida is not that far from Illinois. Sorry, it's maybe 1,000, maybe less. But the guy said, like, oh, if you want Brackett, you need to check, like, 3,000 miles south, like, not that far, all right? Look it up in Google Maps. But anyways, yeah, I like Sheriff Meeker in this movie, and it's a shame that he's not in Part 5 as much. Like, he's really underutilized in Part 5. That's a shame. The most ridiculous scene in this movie probably is the whole rednecks getting killed on the back of the truck. Like, I'm not even sure if all of them died, but he did stab one. But it was like, really? So what? He's like Max Cady or whoever in Cape Fear. He's just like hiding underneath the truck and like no one saw him. And how he got there so quickly, again, he has to be teleporting. Think about it. Watch it again. They go outside the school through the one like exit door right there. And then there's just like all the buildings right there. So he had to go around the building to get to the back of the truck while they were having that like 30-second conversation. And some of them were looking in that direction the whole time, Rachel and Jamie. So they didn't see past the rednecks, like Myers like tiptoeing, like I'm gonna sneak underneath the truck. They're gonna be so surprised when I come back up. It's gonna be hilarious. Like, they would have seen him sneaking in onto that truck. It's bullshit. And another thing that's just ridiculous is he like kills one and then goes to kill the second one, and like the third guy is still like oblivious to what's going on behind him. It's like, dude, if someone's like walking and making all that like ruckus and they're like having a struggle on the back of the truck, you would feel that there would be like a vibration. It would like you would know. Oh my gosh, he's just like throwing them off one by one, just pushing them, like, get the fuck out of my truck. And then we get this awesome gore kill though, with the throat being torn open. Roadhouse. Just tears his throat wide open, and that was like another gore shot that they added in later on. So in this movie, George P. Wilbur is playing Michael Myers, and I like his portrayal. It's fine. I used to like it a lot more back in the day. Maybe that was just nostalgia, but I don't like the look of the mask, and I especially don't like the look of the shoulder pads that he's clearly wearing, and he said that they put it on him to make him look more intimidating. It's like, dude, you're already like 2-3 inches taller than the other two actors, so you already got that going for you. You don't need the freaking shoulder pads. It's ridiculous. I don't like that look. I really don't. So, I mean, he's a good Myers. Like, I think his performance as Myers is even better, more scary in part 6. Mainly, probably because the mask is so great in that one. But the shoulder pads in this one, no. Take it out. So they run his ass down and he just goes flying off. Like, that's not how a body would react to getting hit by a car at that speed. You would just go underneath the car, boom, 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 boom. You would just get ran over. But he just goes flying, and Jamie Lloyd walks up to his body, touches his hand, and I guess this is the moment when the evil transferred. That's what we're supposed to get out of this. So now this is when the psychic connection would really start, right? Because it doesn't make sense how she would have a psychic connection before this. Like the whole ambulance dream sequence at the beginning is a clear sign of some kind of psychic ability, but she doesn't have that after that scene again until after this moment in part 5. Like, this is what started it. This was the catalyst for her losing her voice, becoming psycho, and becoming connected with Myers, telepathically, that just by touching his hand. That's all it took. Again, this movie was written very quickly. There's not a lot of thought put into it. So they were going to blow him up with dynamite. They actually shot that, but then they just used that footage in part 5. And you can even see as they're all blasting him away, like they shoot him 1,000 times in this one. Like, it was 6 times before in the first 2 movies. Now in this one, they're like, we're going to make it 1,000 bullets instead of 6. But you can see while that's happening, there's like a guy in the background like trying to light a Molotov cocktail or something. Or maybe it was a stick and dynamite, I couldn't tell. But yeah, he was like trying to light something, but then we never see what it was. So pay attention next time. He's clearly like on the side, like, come on, light up. And then he never throws anything, so. Then we get probably the best ending in this franchise, next to part 1, with Jamie Lloyd doing just like the opening of part 1, putting on the mask, the POV through the mask, stabbing her foster mother. She's dead in this one, but they cop out, they puss out, oh, we don't want her to be dead, we're just going to have her be wounded in part 5. I don't like that. but she's at the top of the staircase, bloody shears in her hand, and Loomis just freaks the fuck out. No! And this is like a bone-chilling, awesome ending. This is one of the best endings in the franchise, and this is quite honestly where the whole franchise should have ended, right here. All right, end it here and just no more. All right, because 5 is kind of dreadful. And this was intentionally it was supposed to be the last one. That's what they had in mind. This was supposed to be the end, and if they wanted to make more, they were gonna have Jamie Lloyd be the killer. That's what they should have done. If they were gonna make more, they should have had Jamie Lloyd be the killer, just like they should have had Tommy Jarvis be the killer in part 5. You know, what a weird coincidence. That was part 4, this is part 4, and then part 5 of both franchises decided to cop out and be like, no, let's just bring back, you know, not in part 5's case, let's make Roy the killer and not Tommy like we promised, and let's make fucking Myers the killer again instead of Jamie Lloyd like we promised. They never fulfilled their promises. So there you have it. That is the end of my Halloween 4 spoiler discussion. I think I talked about just about everything. Let me know what you think about this movie in the comments below. Is it your favorite sequel? What's your favorite kill? Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's just an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.